Hello again, this is Rimstalker with the sixth, and it looks like the final video in a series of videos on how to do PI profitably. Today we are going to reload a processing plant with raw materials and convert the materials into P1 or Tier 1 materials. In other words, it won't be the raw noble metals, we're going to convert it all into precious metals. If you have set up your planet correctly, you need not count your materials aside from what fits into the launch pad. Now, having said that, let's go ahead and take a look at the planet here. Okay, notice the setup is a little bit different than the extractors, which of course it serves an entirely different purpose. Notice also the processors, the launch pads, the storage facilities, everything is as close together as I really could possibly get it. Now I have kind of a row, command center, which is not attached to any of this, but down from there, storage facility, launch pad, kind of write down a list like that. And then I've got two sides. Why do I do that? Sometimes I use some of these planets on one side to produce something, let's say like water, and on the other side reactive metals. So I just do it just to kind of keep it easy for myself. Other times, like in this case, it's all going to be for precious metals. Now, you can also see, looking at this, some of these storage facilities, well, two of them already have the precious metals in them. We're just going to leave that there. I'm not going to pull that out or anything like that. And also, precious metals in that one. This one has a little bit of noble metals. This one has a little tiny bit of noble metals. Now, as I had said, if you set your planet up correctly, you don't have to worry about how many items you need to go into which processor or any of that stuff. And I'll show you when we get out there how that works. But I think you'll find that this is a much better way than trying to sit down and calculate. This processor will consume X amount per hour of, material A, and then it will, spit out X amount of material B every, you don't have to fiddle with all that stuff. Now, when you get into P3 and P4 materials, you have to start taking a look at that. Only because there's so many materials involved, and sometimes you'll need one of, let's say 20 items of P1 material, but only 10 items of 2P2 materials. So that way you have to do a little calculation. It's not as hard as it sounds. Don't let it confuse you, and don't let it sidetrack you from this one. We're going to basically leave all of this in place. We're just going to go out there and we're going to drop off our noble metals there. To do this, you can see I've got 4 million units of noble metals. That equals 40,000 M3. Now, I only know that it takes 4 million because it takes 40,000. 40,000 is the magic number here because the launch pad, if you recall, only holds 10,000 M3. While yes, the storage facility actually holds 12,000. So we're going to put, whatever it takes to fill these up, which is typically, 10,000 M3, and then we're going to route all the stuff around. But you'll see how that works here in just a second. Okay, if you look closely, we've got, 9 over here and 8 over here. Like I said, it doesn't matter how much how much these guys consume an hour to spit out whatever they spit out an hour. None of that matters. This is where they're drawing from. And this one goes to this side. And this one goes to this side. So all of these processors, when they're finished making their little things, their little products, they ship it all to there. This one is the one used for that. So this is what all those draw from. This is what all this draws from. A good way to check when you set your planet up, did I route it? Well, if you had missed one of these, it wouldn't glow like that around it. If you had missed one of the processors in setting a route to it, there would be a problem there. One of them wouldn't glow, or several of them wouldn't if you missed on several. Same thing, you can check again by on the destination. If you routed all of these correctly, they all glow when you click on the destination. If you didn't route them correctly, there will be parts or ones in there that don't glow. It will be very obvious. It's just a quick way to double check your work without having to get all in depth. It took longer to tell you than it does to actually do it. Okay, so that's where we're going. We've got that. It's going to be Planet 4. We'll close out of there. Trusty epithal ready and loaded. Local looks good. And out we go. Local still looks good. And we're going to warp to there. We're going to open up the customs office on the way over there, just so everything's ready. There it is. Now, sometimes when you're trying to move stuff from the ship to the customs office or from the customs office back to the ship, the customs office window may close out. It's no big deal. Right-click on the, your planet list here and choose Access Customs Office again and pop it back up. It's just something I've noticed. Sometimes it seems to happen on some days, and some days it never happens at all. So there you go. We're going to get over here. Now we're going to have to open up the planet interface on this. Once again, watching all of our local stuff so we don't get in trouble there. And here's Brandon with a badger. This happens to be Brandon's battle badger, so I'm not really sure why he's got it out here like this. But that's just the way that happens. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take our noble metals. Now, if you look over here at the POCO office, you can see here that it only holds 35,000 M3. What that means is this 4 million will not all fit there. Only 35,000 of it, or 3.5 million, will fit there. So we're just going to drag this down, and it sits there and says, oh, only this much fits in there. That's fine. Notice by the time we're done, we've got 10,000 M3 in there. I just drag this back just for, so nobody gets anything confused there. Now what we're going to do, we're going to look at local here real quick. That looks fine. We're going to double click. We're going to open it up. And sometimes this happens too. It's like it gets a funny reading and stuff. That's fine, no big deal. We're going from our launch pad, expedited transfer, and we're going to ship it all to our little system, right? Or our little set of processors. Did you see them flash real bright? So they're all loaded up, and they're beginning to consume all the goodness that is the raw material. And that is too. Notice both of our launch pads are empty. What we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and drag that over, and we'll transfer another chunk down. And there we go. We have a little extra because remember we had a little bit extra in each of the launch pads before we even started. So we've got a tiny little bit extra, 130,000 or so, no big deal. But everything's loaded up. This guy loaded up. This guy loaded up. Now, yes, there's 9,500 out of 12,000, but you can only fit 10,000 in the launcher. So the balance of that 10,000 is in all the processors. And there's an 8-hour waiting time, cool down time. CCP will never change that. And that's why we can't route more into the processing reservoirs, if you will. Let's see if we can get that to look a little bit better. And we're not going to. It just looks a little messy. That's fine. So we've got it loaded up. How long will that take to process? It should take about 12 hours from now, which will be very late at night. Of course, it all depends on what time you started it. You may want to swing back out, or, not swing back out. You can do it from in the station and move stuff over after that 8-hour cooldown time. You can go ahead and do that. move more raw materials into the reservoir, let it continue on. But about this time tomorrow, it'll either be done or it'll be very close to being done um, with all the material. And you'll wind up with a pile of them in your storage bin. Once I get just under 10,000 processed items in the final storage bin, let's see if I can show you here. Then I move that stuff to the launch pad. Until then, I typically do not. Will this show right? So it does. Good. Okay, so like I said, you can see that there's it's not as much as you could put in there, but there's nothing you can do because the max you can move is 10,000 items, 10,000 M3 at a time. Now, once these get filled up to, it's at 4,800 right now, M3. Once that gets to right under 10,000, I'll go ahead and shift them down to the launch pad and lift them off and use them in on another planet. But so you don't have to, oh, I got 2,000 done. Let me go ahead and pull it off the planet. Give yourself a little break. Take your time. Do it like that. Get a little pile, then shift it off and do it like that. We're still going to get it, or you're going to use it for something else. And that concludes this last video. Thank you for your patience and thank you for the time.